focused on digital currencies for, a couple decades. Digital currencies for, a couple decades. This is something we've been focused on digital currencies for, a couple decades.
Let me ask you this. When the Bitcoin world was kind of going down a bit, I think Bitcoin peaked at 61,000 or something, and now it's at 23,000, but it went as low as
17, 18,000.
17, 18. When it did, a lot of other cryptocurrencies went down as well. You bailed out some companies. What money did you use to do that?
So there were a few different versions of it, and one piece of this was basically FTX balance sheet. Like, we keep our corporate cash just in dollars, and so we'd raised a few $1 billion over the course of the last couple of years, and we're a profitable business. Now we'd also done some acquisitions, which partially balances that out, but we had some cash left, and with the BlockFi deal, for instance, that was on FTX. I think FTX US's balance sheet.
Well, when Wall Street had its problems early in the 20th century, Mr. J.P. Morgan himself used to go out and say, I'm going to bail out certain companies, and you were called the J.P. Morgan of crypto. Did that bother you, or did not?
It doesn't bother me too much. I mean, I think it's something I thought was the right thing for the industry, and our very explicit mandate that we sort of gave to the team of people working on this was, your goal is not to make a fortune for us doing this. Like, your goal is to do okay deals. Your goal is for us to not get our faces ripped off, but contingent on that, do as much as we can to bail out the industry. And that was the higher goal, was trying to backstop places rather than maximizing on these deals. I would have loved other people to do it. Like, I think it would have been great.
So you went in, you bought some companies. Were those investments profitable?
Mixed is basically the answer. I think some are going to turn out to be profitable, some won't be. Like, one of them certainly, I mean, with Voyager, I think there's $70 million there that we put in that I'm not sure we're ever seeing that $70 million again. And so, we had to make snap judgment calls, and we made them such that if things turned out well, they'd be good investments, and if they turned out badly, they'd be bad investments. But we sort of limited the amount that we could lose from it.
Shitty term. Give me your idea.
I hate the term. I think it's antiquated. I think maybe when you looked at like the past resets, let's call them, I think it made more sense, right? Because effectively what happened was you had capital falling away from the system, right? And the big difference, and we've heard a bunch of people say it, Dan Morehead said it at one of the conferences recently, we all of a sudden have real institutional long-term capital in the space, right? And over the past 3 months, and what everyone is referring to as this new winter, we're seeing partnerships continue to happen. We're seeing institutions continue to come in, whether it's BlackRock with Coinbase or otherwise, right? And we're still seeing, though on the early stage side, capital being put to work. And I think, once you start to see some more macro indicators moving in the right direction, hopefully today is a start of that, I think you'll see even mid to later stage stuff starting to become more active and more prevalent.
Guys, you're hearing it loud and clear. This is not a crypto winter. Galaxy is making that claim right now. We're going to call it the Great Reset, maybe. The washout of horribly managed businesses, the washout of excessive risk-taking, but not a crypto winner.
Welcome to the Cryptoteacher. And we have the bank man bailing out crypto. And we know the NWO positions its puppets as the Fed was shrinking liquidity. They can get these companies for pennies on the dollar. And we know we've seen this movie before. It's nothing but the blueprint of big tech. And we have Novogratz saying this is not a crypto winner. And we know for a fact this is a crypto winner. We're definitely in a bear market. And the crazy part is the Fed hasn't even got started good yet. We know crypto is for the fourth industrial revolution. But we also know when it comes to the Fed, they bring everything down to its knees. So 99% of people will lose trust in the actual asset is holding. If it wasn't the case, everybody would be rich off the stock market. The average person doesn't invest in the stock market because they don't understand finances. If they did, they would know the game is rigged. But the next bull run is going to come, and it's going to be a utility run. Real use cases. Remember, guys, this is Shemitah year. This is the start of the building. So over the next year and a half, 2 years, it's all about building. And then they flipped that switch. Late 2024, going into 2025, the robots, algorithms, and drones will be activated. and pay each other with crypto, taking humanity out the workforce, and the sheep will go inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
The climb out trajectory is, right? It would be strange to me that there's a V because we had the greatest asset bubble of all time, not just in crypto, but outside of crypto, that is being popped.
Yeah.
And so you've got this secular trend, which you see and I see accelerating, versus the fact that you had to take some of the fluff out of the market. And so we'll watch carefully. I think it's going to be less explosive, but a continuous adoption cycle. And then if the central banks flinch or get too easy, you might see that price of Bitcoin, price of Ethereum accelerate, which then will create the hype cycle again. And so feels like there's less downside than we all feared 2 months ago.
I also think,
don't jinx me.
I also think that the big difference now versus 6 months ago is we're using the word utility a lot, right? And so how do you bring utility into some of these projects that maybe didn't exist, within the past 2 years? And I think we're starting to see some of these projects move towards that. We're starting to see real life applications, right? And that, in my mind, should obviate some of the volatility and some of the risks that we've seen.
It probably also requires a shift in token economics. A lot of these projects. I've been talking about this a lot. A lot of the token economics make no sense because they were people trying to, work themselves around regulation or unclear regulation. And why we've been pushing for clarity and regulation is because then you can at least know how to design a token. I keep saying, my mother, I should be able to explain to her how the token works. And at this point, I have really smart people explaining to me how the token works, and I have to ask the question like 6 times. And I'm not that smart, but I'm not dumb. And so as an industry, we really need to get to a simpler idea of how different tokens work. And they're going to work very differently, right? Bitcoin's going to have a different, token economic model than Uniswap or some other, decentralized exchange.
To your point, though, like regulation solves that to some degree, right? Because once there is, and we say this a lot, even no matter what the regulatory outcome is, the industry will innovate around whatever that construct actually looks like, right? And so any clarity at this point, I think, is ultimately massively beneficial to the space.
All right. Well, listen, I promised my viewers I would never have a banker on for more than 20 minutes because, bankers in general aren't the most dynamic of guys. It's kind of like
it's fair.
The joke of sitting next to the banker at the dinner party. You'd rather sit next to the artist. Or you're kind of a half crypto degen, half crypto banker. So we gave you the full 20.
I'll take it.
Thanks a lot, Michael. This has been great.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.